Enabling a life in dignity for all, that is the vision of sustainable development. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals apply to all people in this world, leaving no one behind. Climate change has become a threat to all countries and societies. Even if temperatures rise by about 1.5 degrees centigrade, further irreversible changes in the Earth's climate system will take place that threaten livelihoods. Without solving the climate crisis, sustainable development will not be possible. Each country individually and all countries collectively have an interest in stopping global warming. Worldwide, decision makers have to drastically reduce global greenhouse gas emissions in order to stop global warming, help people to adapt to the irreversible changes of their living environments, and to enable a life in dignity for everyone. Align all policies and investments with the SDGs and the Paris Climate Agreement. International cooperation plays a central role in all of this. Coherent policies and support will help raising climate policy ambitions and achieving the SDGs at the same time. To foster both agendas, political actors across all levels and sectors of international cooperation should remember: climate policy and sustainable development belong together. For example, foster the reuse of your climate-smart ideas by considering technology transfer, capacity building and funding instruments right from the beginning. Act together, motivate others, and adjust framework conditions to facilitate more action. For example, more national and international investments allow for more climate action. But not only that, public investments are also confidence-building signals that motivate other financial actors to invest as well. Prepare for climate risks. For example, support the development of capacities to manage climate risks in order to safeguard development efforts and livelihoods against the impacts of climate change. Identify and invest in promising action areas. In our study, we identified 5 priority sectors: electricity, cities, agriculture, forests and ecosystems, and water. Global energy consumption is responsible for around 70% of global CO2 emissions. People need energy to prosper. This energy should be as reliable, affordable, and clean as possible. Therefore, promote leapfrogging towards renewable energy systems. Only fund what is clean and foster local alternatives to fossil power generation. The easiest way to reduce emissions is to leave fossil fuels in the ground. Build and strengthen inclusive institutions to shape the transformation of energy supply systems for the benefit of all and to moderate conflicts of interest. Cities already account for 3/4 of global CO2 emissions from energy consumption. By 2050, around 2/3 of the world's population will live in cities. The good news: cities are also centres of innovation, and many cities will achieve their 2020 climate goals. Therefore, promote clean urban mobility and infrastructure. Promote community-based adaptation measures. Recognise cities as key actors in climate action and support local actors in realising the mitigation potential of their city. 80% of agriculture-based greenhouse gas emissions come from developing and emerging countries. At the same time, climate change poses a massive and urgent threat to agricultural production. Securing the food needs of a growing population while mitigating agricultural emissions is particularly challenging. Therefore, promote climate-friendly technologies and practices in agricultural production, aiming to increase yields, reduce emissions, strengthen resilience. Balance global demands for emission-intensive meat and dairy products more equitably. Avoid crop loss and waste, e.g. through better storage options and more conscious consumption. 7% of global CO2 emissions can be attributed to tropical deforestation. Intact ecosystems are the natural foundation of human development and livelihoods. In addition, forests, wetlands and oceans serve as carbon sinks, absorbing about half of human CO2 emissions from the atmosphere. Therefore, consider biodiversity concerns in climate financing and vice versa. Stop the deforestation of tropical forests. Support the regulation of products, such as tropical timber, palm oil, beef and soya, and create incentives for deforestation-free supply chains. Clarify and secure the land rights of local communities and involve them in environmental policy. This allows people to take responsibility for their natural resources, including protected areas. Over 2 billion people worldwide live under water stress. 4 billion suffer from seasonal water scarcity. A 2 degrees centigrade rise in global temperature alone could increase the number of people suffering from water scarcity by an additional 40%. Therefore, promote more efficient water use and water-saving technologies. Improve water governance and institutional capacity, and strengthen integrated water resources management. Recognise wastewater as a resource and promote decentralised reuse to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. Time is running out. What will be achieved by 2030 determines whether the global climate can be stabilised at 1.5 degrees centigrade. The industrialised countries must lead the way, and at the same time set incentives for transformative policies in developing and emerging countries. Already today, developing and emerging countries represent roughly 2/3 of annual global greenhouse gas emissions. Only if we meet the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement will a just and sustainable global development remain attainable.